Hello friends, good afternoon and welcome to Reset Live Lectures. Dear friends, as you know that we have started a series on Sustainable Development Goals. Today we are conducting yet another lecture in the same series. In today's lecture, we will be looking at the concept of gender equality and for Sustainable Development Goals, its concepts and global experiences. To discuss this topic, we have with us our subject expert, Professor R.B. Singh. Professor Singh is Professor in Department of Geography in Delhi School of Economics. He is also Vice President of International Geographical Union. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Sir to our studios and request him to start the lecture. Welcome, Sir.
Thank you, Amritpalji. Dear viewers, today we are going to take up very important goals. As you know, on 25th September 2015, United Nations General Assembly passed resolution to adopt Sustainable Development Goals, and we have Goal 8, focuses on gender equality. I would like to discuss today various conceptual framework and global experiences, and then I will take up Indian experiences. Goal 5 focuses on achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. First of all, I would like to start with a statement by ex-Secretary General Mr. Kofi Annan. I quote, "Gender equality is more than a goal in itself. It is a precondition for meeting the challenges of reducing poverty, promoting sustainable development, and building good governance." Unquote. And so, Goal 5, in this context I can tell that it is not possible for world to make the world a safer habitat to humanity unless the issue of women empowerment and security and safety are addressed. Women and girls represent half of the world's population and half of the global potential. But gender inequality exists everywhere and poses threat towards socio-economic progress, particularly more challenging in developing countries. Significance: Sustainable Development Goal on gender is a cross-cutting issue. So it is not relates to the one when we are dealing with poverty, when we are dealing with urbanization. I think gender comes everywhere. That will influence and will be influenced by the performance of most of the other sustainable development goals. Gender equality is closely linked to the provision of equal opportunity in and access to education, employment, healthcare, food, energy, water, sanitation, and political empowerment. So gender, I would like to first differentiate between gender and sex. Gender refers to the social attributes and opportunity associated with being male and female and the relationship between women and men and girls. So these attributes, opportunity and relationship are socially constructed and are learned through the socialization process according to the European Institute of Gender Equality. Sex, I would like to take up the definition of WHO. Sex refers to the biological and physiological characteristics that define human as a female or male. These sets of biological characteristics are not mutually exclusive, as there are individuals who possess both, but these characteristics tend to differentiate human as female or male. Gender equality, first I would like to discuss as an economic concept. It implies fairness in the way women and men are treated. The different life experiences and needs of men and women are taken into consideration. Serves to level playing field and empower women. and equity is essential to achieve true equality. Then I would like to discuss gender equality as a social concept, and in this context I would like to mention about equal access to social goods, services and resources, equal opportunity in all spheres of life. In most cases, inequality can be attributed to marginalization of women, but men can equally be disadvantaged in certain conditions. Here I would like to take the UNICEF, the gender equality most important component. It is not a short-term but long-term goal. Absence of discrimination is based on sex is very important. We would like to discuss. Equality between men and women exists when both sexes are able to share equally in the distribution of power and influence. Equity leads to equality, and so we have to see different type of leadership like a vision, organization, self-confidence, decision making and voice in this different sphere of life. Here you can see that gender equity leads to gender equality, how male and female are performing in a different uniformly in a particular field, but they get remuneration differently. Critical issues. I would like to take up the few important critical issues. Burden of poverty continues to be the very important. Unequal access of to education and training, unequal education to health care, violence against women, women living in conflict area, particularly you can see the situation of Syria, Iraq, Nigeria, Afghanistan, inequality in economic benefit and policy, inequality in sharing of power and decision making, insufficient mechanism to promote advancement of women, lack of respect, management of natural resources. As you know, particularly in the hilly area, Mahila mandals are very important in Himachal Pradesh or Uttarakhand area, and how the women are very actively involved for protecting tree. And you might be knowing the Chipko movement started by a very famous woman from Reni village of Gaura Devi. Gender inequality in the management of natural resources, and apart from that, violence of right of girl child. So, SDG 5, it is very important to see the main goals and then elaborate these goals through different type of targets. Targets includes ending violence and discrimination, eliminating harmful practices, giving value to unpaid work, participation in decision making, access to reproductive health and ownership over the land. Targets. And these all targets, particularly you can see the harmful practices, all form of violence, discrimination among women, recognizing the value of unpaid care and domestic work, what this homemaker, housewife, they are doing and contributing to the society, ensure women's full and effective participation and equal opportunity for leadership at all levels, starting from panchayat to the parliament, ensure universal access to sexual and reproductive health and reproductive rights. Now I would like to discuss few important alarming facts and taking the global experiences. According to the UN facts, globally 35% of women have experienced physical and or sexual intimate partner violence or non-partner sexual violence. As girls move into the adolescence, gender disparity widened. Child marriage affects girls for more than boys. Worldwide, nearly 15 million girls under the age of 18 years are married every year, or almost 37,000 every day. In sub-Saharan Africa, Oceania, Western and Southern Asia, girls still face societal barriers in getting education at both primary and secondary school. These girls largely coming from weaker section of society. On an average, women in the labor market still earn 24% less than men globally. This is a global average. So one can understand from own perception the type of problem the female are facing. Women in Northern Africa hold less than 1 in 5 paid jobs in the non-agricultural sector. An estimated 133 million girls and women have experienced some form of female genital mutilation in the 29 countries in the Africa and the Middle East, where the harmful practice is most common, with a high risk of prolonged health problem, bleeding, infection, childbirth complication, infertility and death. Lack of education translates into the limited opportunity in the labor market. So education continues to be the very, very important challenge. Women's and girls' empowerment is essential to expand economic growth and promote societal development. Investing in education for girls and increasing the age at which they marry can return $5 for every dollar spent. Programs improving income generating activity from women can return $7 every dollar spent. But in recent years, we have some optimistic indicators. A few important initiatives done in different parts of the world, and particularly I would like to take up from the report of the Secretary General, while elaborating the progress towards sustainable development goals, he viewed more optimistically. Gender equality and women's empowerment have advanced in recent decades. Girls' access to education has improved and rate of child marriage declined. As of 2014, 143 countries guaranteed equality between men and women in their constitution. So at least some initiative taken, through the constitution they have guaranteed. Another 52 countries have yet to make this commitment. So still we have big gap. Globally, the proportion of women aged between 20 and 24 were married before their 18th birthday dropped from 32% in 1990 to 26%. So maybe the slightly drop, but at least some initiative taken. The most rapid education was recorded in Northern Africa, where percentage of women married before the age of 18 dropped by more than half, from 29% to 13% over the last 25 years. Globally, women's participation in parliament also rose to 23% in 2016, representing an increase of 6 percentage points over a decade. In 2016, number of women speakers of national parliaments jumped from 42 to 49 out of 273 posts globally. Women accounted for 18% of all speakers of parliament in January 2016. So, I would like to highlight the gender equality global perspective, and particularly few important experiences I would like to present. Between 2005, particularly I would like to highlight about the trend. Between 2005 and 2015, data from 52 countries show that 21% of girls and women aged between 15 and 49 experience physical or sexual violence at the hands of an intimate partner. Human trafficking disproportionately affects women and girls, since 70% of all victims detected worldwide are female. Child marriage is most common in South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa, and with 44% of women married before reaching 18. In Southern Asia and 37% women married before they 18 in sub-Saharan Africa. But rate of marriage of girls under the age of 15 declined globally from 12% in 1990 to 7% in 2015. So we have a very substantial improvement at a global level. Today, in 30 countries for which data available, around 1 in 3 girls aged 15 to 19 have undergone the inhuman practices of genital mutilation versus 1 to 2 in mid-1980s. So we have some reduction. On average, women report that they spend 19% of their time each day in unpaid activity versus 8% for men, meaning greater total work burden. Globally, women participation in parliament rose to 23%. Percentage of women in vulnerable employment has decreased to 13% in the last 24 years. Globally, women are receiving 24% less in wages than men. Women representation in parliament averages only 1 out of 5. So, in this context, it is very appropriate to discuss gender gap index. Gender gap index first time prepared by the World Economic Forum and covering 144 major and emerging economies, and highest possible score is 1, means the more equality, and the lowest possible score is 0 in inequality. And particularly the developed countries are always stand near the highest proximity to maintain the decentralization of country resources among all. Now you can see here through this diagram it shows the gender parity and gaps in percentage, and we have the more gap in political participation, so still very less participation by women in political decision making. Situation of health is real better, education little bit better, but the two aspects, political participation and economic participation, we have a very big gap. Global gender gap ranking, if you will see, and our situation of India is 114, Iceland, Nicaragua, Rwanda, Philippines, Germany, United States, they are occupying a good position in global gender gap ranking. So particularly in situation of country like Yemen, India, but in developed country China, Japan situation is also not very good in this context. Global gender gap ranking in selected country, particularly here I would like to mention, take into consideration of the several parameters: economic participation, educational attainment, health, political participation, and you can see this the Iceland occupying a very good, but health I think situation is not bad, but India is very far behind in economic participation, educational attainment, and health also. Maybe political participation situation of India is more better, so I think we can compare from other parts of the world. And I would like to mention that at the decentralized decision making through the municipality or panchayats, we have the reservation of seats for the women, and it brought a significant change at a national level, particularly in the political participation. In situation of Russia is also very bad, and China, Nepal, China also not, Bhutan, Maldives, Pakistan, all are facing a big problem, and we have to improve. Region-wide gender inequality index, here you can see this, we have Latin America and the Caribbean, better situation, and Europe and Central Asia. But East Asia, I think, But in Arab states, South Asia, situation is very, very problematic. And here you can see this, the global gender inequality index, and you can see this, again the situation of North America, Europe. These regions are performing better in Australia and Japan, but in case of large part of Africa and South Asia, situation is very, very bad. And here you can see this, the region-wise performance of the key, development indicators. And again, here the situation of South Asia is problematic, but sub-Saharan area is more worse than the South Asia. Latin America and Europe situation is more better, and the index is closer to 1. Gender gap index and India, situation of India and other developing country, and taking into consideration of the economic participation, educational attainment, health and survival, political, and the this Bangladesh, Cambodia, Ghana, this also educational attainment is more, but gender gap index is almost the same in these countries except Tanzania. Global Gender Gap Report and India. No country in the world has achieved complete gender equality yet, but some countries are getting closer. According to the World Economic Forum, Iceland ranks number 1 in the global ranking with a score of 0.8594 in 2014. Highest possible score is 1, which indicates perfect equality. India, on the other hand, ranks 114 out of 142 countries. So we have to improve a lot in our country. Then you can see this, the Australia, Bangladesh. Here also the situation male female, and Australia is a very good, almost parity you can find, but in Nepal, India, the situation is different. Mean years of schooling and expected year of schooling, here you can see a lot of difference between mean and expected years, or particularly taking into consideration the 15 to 24 age group in Asia. And you can see this, the Korea better, Bangladesh again situation is bad. Here I would like to give analyze the status of women, percentage of women since the science education research in Asia, and particularly the data of the bachelor, PhD and researcher. And we have in Sri Lanka situation at bachelor level very good, Australia very good, Malaysia very good, but country like Bangladesh, India and Turkey situation is bad. Progress is still in slow pace. Globally, women are receiving 24% less in wages than men. Even women with high education level are less likely to be employed compared to their male counterparts. Women representation in parliament average only 1 out of 5. And so what we can do globally, women empowerment is the need of the hour. Means the total changes needed for a woman to realize her full human rights in agency, her own aspiration and capability, a structure, looking the environment that surrounds and condition her choices, relation, the power relation through which they negotiate her path, and plans for further improvement. We have to improve our data development, better the data, better gender equality, increase access to real-time data, improve coverage of statistics, utilize new technology for data collection, and promote the greater data literacy. many initiatives taken for exploring possible way to improve the transparency, equal pay arrangement, support equal pay initiatives. Institute of European Equal Pay Day held each year considered targeted initiative to improve the gender balance in decision making, monitor 25% target for women in top level decision making position, particularly in research, monitor progress towards aim to 40% member of one sex in committee and expert groups, support efforts to promote greater participation women and in European Parliament. So European Union, they did a lot for improving, and I think the other developing country can take a lot of the lesson from that. Women empowerment and environment. One can see a very close relationship between women empowerment and natural resource management. Women are best resource managers, best environmental managers. UNDP, here I would like to mention about United Nations Development Program, works with partners to maintain gender into the natural resources management and ecosystem services program. Through the climate change adaptation policy, particularly gender responsive approaches to agriculture and water management, increase women access to affordable and clean energy, risk prevention, mitigation tool, and UNDP also assist in development of community handbooks of family risk management. Thank you very much. Welcome viewer. I would like to discuss now Indian experiences in the relating to gender equality for sustainable development goals. It is impossible to think about welfare of the world unless the condition of women is improved. I would like to quote this from the Swami Vivekananda. Total population of India comprises 52% males and remaining 48% are female. Sex ratio in India has been historically negative in comparison to males, while adult sex ratio has shown an increasing trend in recent years. Child sex ratio is still declining and will pose problems to society in a various way. I would like to analyze critical health indicators of women in India. The average nutritional intake of women in India is 1400 calories daily, and necessary requirement is 2200 calories. 38% of all HIV positive people in India are women. 92% of women in India suffer from gynecological problems. 300 women die every day due to childbirth and pregnancy-related causes, and this largely due to the malnutrition problem. India's maternal mortality rate was 174 per 100,000 live births in 2013, which is one of the lowest in the world. Only 38% mothers got institutional delivery facility. Only 34% of mothers got postnatal care. So now you can understand from your own perception the type of problem we have in India. I would like to take up the few important issues relating to cultural discrimination and role of gender, and particularly I would like to mention the few and then I would like to elaborate. Marriage related, position of women in joint family, sexual exploitation, lack of social space, and voice of freedom. Here I would like to analyze the few important data and looking the emerging trends. Child sex ratio in India has declined from 927 girls per 1000 boys in 2001 to 1980 according to the Ministry of Women and Child Development of Government of India. It was an all-time high 976 in 1961. These serious facts reflect pre-birth discrimination through gender-biased sex selection and post-birth discrimination against girls. The decline has been recorded widespread across the country and expanded to rural as well as tribal area. Now you can see here how we have the some decline sex ratio female per thousand of males starting from 1901 to 2011. Recently we have little bit improvement. If you will analyze the age group sex ratio of 0 to 6 and overall sex ratio, so if you will see this 0 to 6 we have situation is very bad. And here I would like to present through the map child sex ratio of girls to boys as age 0 to 6 in 2001 and 2011. No doubt we have little bit improvement in 2011, but particularly one can see the all this Bimaru state, what it is called the like a Rajasthan, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, part of Madhya Pradesh, situation is not very good in comparison of the other southern state or Andhra Pradesh or northeastern state where we have situation is more better in this contest. Here you can see this 1901 to 2010 that how this sex ratio in India, and particularly you can see this the Census of India 2011 recorded an increase in the sex ratio as compared to the previous census, and this bear an important message for bringing a stable population with balanced gender distribution. Child sex ratio, and particularly I would like to mention that most of the southern and northern and eastern states in India have shown more balance, but if you will go in northern side, central and northwestern states showing an imbalanced child sex ratio. So we have to improve. I think policy makers, such mapping exercise can help policy makers to select such states or districts where we are not performing more better way. Gender gap index, and 4 areas particularly I would like to mention. Again, I am taking this data, an important issue relating from the World Economic Forum. Economic participation and opportunity, very, very important. Salaries, participation and leadership. Education, access to basic and higher level of education. Political empowerment, representation in decision making. Health and survival, particularly I would like to take up the life expectancy and sex ratio. Now you can see this how a gender gap sub index in India and health survival and educational attainments have shown less gap, whereas political empowerment and economic participation and opportunity have shown a very bad picture. Women as a workers, female share in non-agricultural wage employment is only 17%. Participation of the women in the workforce is only almost 14% in urban sector and around 30% in rural sector. Women wage rates on average only 75% of the men's wage rates. So you can see that how the wage discrimination. Women occupy only 9% of parliamentary seat, less than 4% seats in high courts and Supreme Court, and less than 3% administrators and managers are women. Close to 245 million Indian women lack the basic capability of read and write. adult literacy rates for ages 15 and above for the males was 82% and females 65%. There is a literacy rate gap of almost about 17%. How you can see here, this the women in various fields among all women enrolled in the university, and what you are getting, the 40 out of 100, 40 almost 43% are enrolled in the arts subjects, science 19%, commerce and management 16%. So education almost 5%, engineering 11%, and very little in agriculture, less than 1% in agriculture, veterinary science, law almost around 1%. So you can see medicine is still, we have the more participation by women in medicine, but 4%, not more than 4%. And here you can see this email through diagram. I would like to show the female student enrollment starting from undergraduate to the master and PhD level, how they are continuing. And now you can see in arts, they are continuing in a better way, science also, but engineering very less, medical very less. Percentage of female student enrollment by field of study. So, what are the important issues of critical domains? India's most recent National Health and Demographic Survey found that 46% all marriages in India are early marriages. In many religions, marriages and other family issues are governed by personal law, which are sometimes against the spirit of personal liberty, equality, and basic human rights. As fathers are considered to be a natural head of the family, particularly in the share in the land, I think the some taken practices like a triple talaq, polygamy are still problematic for the status and dignity of women. Many personal law lacks proper mechanism to provide maintenance in case of divorce. Even sometimes education or awareness is very, very important. They do not know. No doubt the practice of dowry, no doubt 1961 on amendment also done in 1986, but in reality still it is prevalent in some area. Adultery is a crime under India's 1860 Penal Code, but we treat men and women differently. Polygamy is legal in few communities, but it is illegal for all other groups. In practice, many women, particularly in northern India, are still deprived of inheritance. A recent survey, UN Women, conducted in 2 states found that only 22% of family survey knew about the 2005 amendment that gave women equal inheritance right. So, lack of education may be not bad, but awareness level needed to be promoted in different parts of the country, and more specifically in rural area. 2005 Domestic Violence Act is there, but still in 2012 National Crime Record Bureau recorded 106,000 cases of cruelty by husband or relatives, only 15% of which resulted in convictions. Sexual violence and rape, despite of lot of institutional mechanism taken. One data I would like to mention from National Crime Record Bureau, 24,923 cases of rape in 2012 were reported, and up from 22,000 in 2010, almost 12.4% increase with a 24% conviction rate. Now you can see this diagram, the percentage of total crime against women in states where it is very important to see this data, because policy makers can highlight, can take measures. We have more crime in Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal, Rajasthan, Maharashtra, and Assam, situation is more better in Himachal Pradesh, Manipur, Meghalaya. In such a state, Tripura, Uttarakhand, we have the more better, less crime. Other issue like a sexual harassment, again a lot of, no doubt we have Visakha guidelines, and we need to promote and to create public awareness at a greater extent, so that people should know about the exact guideline given by the Supreme Court. According to some figure, honor killings are also remain a serious problem particularly in the state like Punjab, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh. Abortion, female feticide is legal in India. Cases of fetal impairment where the woman's mental or physical health is in danger. Sex selective abortion are a criminal offence, despite that a number of such illegal abortions are being conducted with desire for a son. And you can see here that crime against women registered in police station, particularly cruelty by husband is very high, followed by assault on women, then kidnapping. But no doubt we have a little bit improvement in dowry death and abatement of suicide less. Sex trafficking under 5 mortality rates is very high. That requires the careful, and so malnutrition, tackling the nutritional betterment continues to be the very important task for the policy makers. Primary and secondary school enrollment, as per the financial inclusion, according to the World Bank, in 2011 only 26.5% of women in India held an account, but no doubt we have recent years we have a very substantial improvement under the Modi government about opening the account by the people. But financial required and gap, still big gap exists. 69 lakh crore rupees, $1,091 billion for the 2016 to 30. That is the one estimate. So Ministry of Women and Child Development require enough adequate financial resources to implement the various schemes under and improve the gender equality index and our India's position, because in India's rank in gender inequality index is stand 132 out of 148 country as prepared by UNDP, and this is not a good sign, where there is need for a critical assessment. When the sustainable development goal we are going to achieve full by 2030, I think more serious efforts are needed in our country for adopting several important programs. Like you can see the female empowerment index state-wise in India is 10 here, and you can see that the states like Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand, Assam, Bihar, we have more inequality. Mizoram situation is more better, and other states, southern states we have a more better, but the Bihar stands farthest 0.42 rank in gender parity. Gender disaggregated data on education in India, and particularly here I would like to mention that the percentage share of female population for all three categories, means the 6 to 14 years, 15 to 19 years, 20 to 94 years, that is a more schooling education years, between 2001 and 11 have shown increasing, where the college attendance has shown rapid increase from almost 6% in 2001 to 60% in 2011. So, we have no doubt various improvement due to the opening of model schools, district level schools, many central universities, AIMS and other facilities were started. Here I would like to put the data of the Indian Parliament by gender in 2000 to 2014, and now no doubt little bit improvement you can find in 2014, particularly the in Lok Sabha we had female participation 8.11%, increased to 11.99%, very slow pace. Rajya Sabha 8% to 10.14%. So, and one thing I would like to mention that the female in comparison to 2000, in Rajya Sabha only 26, 20 to 26. So, not a very major improvement. No doubt a bill in the parliament is pending from many years for reserving 30% seats for women in Indian Parliament and the Assembly. I hope this step will be taken so that we will have the more and more women participation in political decision making. I would like to take up some of the important policies and programs. Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan, I think we achieved a lot for bridging all gender and social category, universal retention, elementary education, and we have a lot of improvement in this program. Then National Program for Education of Girls at Elementary Level. This program was launched in 2003 and was implemented in educationally backward blocks addressing needs of girls who are in and out of school. And I would like to take up the few data statistics. End of 2012-13, 41.2 million girls have been covered under these 442 districts, and 41,000 or 42,000, about 40,000 model school clusters have been established. So, such decentralized national program for education of girls brought a significant change in the scenario, and hope in future this will bring a better result. At the cluster level, one school is developed into a resource hub for a school within the cluster. Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya scheme. These are residential upper primary school for girls from a scheduled caste, scheduled tribe and other backward class and Muslim community. These are set up in educationally backward blocks where schools are at greater distances. It is implemented in selected 27 states up to the year 2012-13, and almost 366,000 girls were enrolled in these Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya against the targeted enrollment of 373. So, we had a very substantial achievement on this front. Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan, it is a flagship program of Government of India launched in March 2009 to enhance access to secondary education and improve its quality. Mahila Samakh program that is launched in 1988 to recognize that education can be an effective tool for women's empowerment. Sakshar Bharat scheme, it was launched in 2009 and has been extended up to the March 2017, and almost 388 districts in 26 states were covered under this program. National Mission for Empowerment of Women. This program is launched by the Ministry of Women and Child Development, and particularly for giving powers, training and capacity building to enhance to the women for enhancing and strengthen understanding of gender issues, build a resource pool, trainers at the national and state level for bridging the gap between knowledge and practice. Indira Gandhi Maitri Sahyog Yojana, that under the integrated child development services of launched in 52 selected districts, and the pregnant woman of 19 years of age or above is entitled to a cash incentive to the Indian rupees in 3 installments for first 2 live birth. This generally for contributing to the better enabling environment by providing conditional cash transfer to improve the health and nutrition of the women. Kishori Shakti Yojana. This scheme aims to empower adolescent girls in order to enable them to take charge of their lives. This new scheme extends to coverage the significant content enrichment, strengthen, training component, particularly they are focusing on a skill development. As these aspects aimed at empowerment and enhance the self-perception. Sabla, that is a Rajiv Gandhi scheme for empowerment of adolescent girls. Particularly, they have this program for a specific, year, particular group of girls between 11 to 18 years for improving their nutritional and health status, upgrading various skills like home skills, life skill, vocational skills. They have implemented in 200 districts across the country. This scheme is being implemented using the platform of ICDS and then Anganwadi centers. These are the focal point. Now I would like to take up the Indian best management practices, and the first one, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, particularly the PM Modi initiative. Reservation of women's seat in local government, that is a very, very important step. Support to training and empowerment program for women 2014. Janani Suraksha Yojana, Swadhar 2000 scheme, that is a scheme for difficult circumstances, those who are facing. Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya. The Beti Bachao Beti Padhao scheme, particularly the prevent the gender bias sex selection elimination, ensure survival and protection of the girl child, ensure education for the girl child. And this program has a 2 very important component, mass communication campaign and multi-sectoral action in 100 selected critical districts as a pilot district, and this must be expanded in other area. Support to training and empowerment of program, particularly this is for training, skill development in horticulture, agriculture, tailoring, stitching, embroidery, jari, handloom, food processing, handicraft, nutritional betterment. These are very, very important. It links with nutritional betterment. Janani Suraksha Yojana, as we have seen, and particularly focusing in Rajasthan, Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, Orissa, Madhya Pradesh, the more critical district. Swadhar, this is a more design with a flexible, innovative approaches, and for removing the vulnerability of the age group. Now I would like to bring here some programmatic suggestion for policy maker under the PM New India program, because he is thinking about the 2022. The first one, establish a woman-friendly infrastructure such as child care center for working women, separate hygiene toilet for girl students. Second, empowering women and smart security application for emergency situation. Awareness about implicit signals of teasing, stalking and harassment in physical as well as digital space. Next, skill development is a very, very important, and many ministry can be integrated with this to enhance their employability, enabling their social and economic empowerment. Equal pay for equal pay must be ensured. Women-centric and friendly fast-track committee to address women grievances in public as well as private organization. Sensitize society towards crime and violence against women. Raise confidence among women and girls through training in self-defense capability. These are some of the important suggestions I would like to propose for PM New India program. And so, in this context, role of media is very, very important. Exposure to mass media, radio listening, television listening, and variety of societal issues can be taken up and already taken by the many TV channel for improving awareness. I would like to conclude that worldwide and national level sincere efforts have been made to promote gender equality and empowerment. But efforts are needed to women to use their increasing capability in economy and society. Gender equality requires changing underlying social norms, changes in the law, institution, policy. Gender equality and women's empowerment are not synonymous and therefore cannot be tackled using a single indicator. We have to identify several indicators. Need for transforming social protection, addressing gender-specific risk, exposure and vulnerability, intra-household inequality, especially the decision-making power, and resource ownership is very, very important, recognition of societal reproduction and diversity of family institution and the distinct experience of men and women in the labor market. Finally, I would like to conclude that gender equality remains a challenge for global society and Indian society too, and lack of such equality is a major hindrance for achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you very much.
Dear friends, due to paucity of time, we have to stop our lecture here. On that note, we would like to thank Professor Singh for coming to our show and delivering this wonderful lecture. And thank you, dear friends, watching our show. Stay tuned and keep watching. Thank you.